So the other day we have been introducing the course and making the first lecture about the general framework, so understanding what is sustainable development, what are the key issues to be tackled, and what is the dimension of change, and so on. And then a second part was about the kind of a short history of design for sustainability. Okay, and into that we start to understand that there was something that is more linked to material selection, to product design, and to a more systemic approach to design, which is the topic of this course. Nevertheless, today what I'm going to talk to you is a kind of a short introduction to product design for environmental sustainability. Since I understood by most of you, I was asking you, have you ever had courses on how to design product with a low environmental impact? So you said mostly no. So the first part will be about this. Think about it. This is a course here of 6 credit. So it's about 50, 52, 55 hours of lecturing, like the course that we are having now. So it's a kind of an introduction. So just the key points, and maybe to raise your interest if you want to go on in understanding more better what is about designing product with a low environmental impact. But even because without knowing some key point of this, it's a bit hard to understand even what does it mean to design on a system level. Because anyhow, when you design on a system level, it's a mix of product and services and interaction and whatever, but the product there exists. So the material side always is there. The material flow, the resource flows are there, and so on. So this will be the first part. Then we will go to the core of the course. One first part. So this will be really key important. I will introduce you the sustainable product service system. I will have another slide about another slideshow about the win-win potential of sustainable product service system. I told you the other time that these offer model, sustainable product service system, are understood and have been studied just for one great news, that for an economic and competitive reason of the provider, of the manufacturer that is offering this, they are interested in designing those with a low environmental impact, radically lower than the existing one, and that these can be accessible even to low and middle income people. So actually going towards social equity and cohesion, so to the redistribution of resources and so on, something that we discussed the other time. So it's really a very promising model, and I will highlight because it's key important to understand this. Okay, there will be something, some economic issue to be understood, but you will see I will have some schematic representation that it shouldn't be that difficult. Okay, so it's really very understandable. Okay, so now I'm going to talk to you about product lifecycle design, and this will be an introduction. It means that I will introduce the topic, which actually has lots of knowledge, so I will give you even some references if you want to deepen this understanding. But as I told you before, this is key important even to understand what are the other issues related to a more systemic approach. So the first thing we will say is what are the environmental impact or effect of a product. This pair of glasses I have in my hands, or the laptop is there, and why these define the environmental requirement of a product, as we have, you know, ergonomic requirement, aesthetical requirement, and so on. Then we will see very briefly what is a life cycle assessment. Is a tool to assess the environmental impact of a product. And then finally, we will speak about product lifecycle design. It's mostly known like eco-design of product, or design for environment, or something like this. You will understand why I prefer, or it is preferred to use product lifecycle design. Then we will see some criteria and some example, not really the guidelines. This is to go too deep, but into the slideshow that I have here. So even for you, I put there inside the guidelines. I will not go through all of them. This will take lots of time, but just but few examples to let you understand something. Yes, this I have. And then just for your knowledge, where you can find some method and tools that are used to support designer in product lifecycle design. So let's start with the environmental impact or effect and the requirement that are deriving from those when we are designing a product. Environmental requirement, what does it mean actually? Is to design a product minimizing its environmental effect. You remember what we were speaking about? We introduce global warming, eutrophication, water, acidification, and so on. You know, these are problems that could be linked, and we will see how, to a given product. But the key point is that each environmental impact, whether it's global warming or the toxicity or whatever, is due to an exchange of substances between any process related to a product that we have, this pair of glasses, and the environment, the geosphere and the biosphere, okay? So any of those can create an environmental impact. Actually, we have two types of impact. One is related to the input, so the resources that we take from the environment, and we will see why, in which sense. And in terms of output, so the output of the production, or not only the production, but all the processes that are related, or that we can relate to a given product, this pair of glasses, to the environment, so the environmental effect that they are causing. And of course, not all the input and output has the same effect, damaging effect. If I throw 1 kilogram of water into the nature is something. If I'm throwing 1 kilogram of asbestos, amianto, which is a very cancerogenic material, it's quite different. Okay, just to make a very quick understanding. So what are the input and their damaging effect? The first one is about research. Research is depletion. So the fact that there is a scarcity of resources, or better still, we are consuming more than the nature is able to make these resources to regrow, to make those again available for us. And the other thing is about the alteration of the environment from which we are taking resources. Just think we are taking, I don't know, oil to make either a polymer or to produce energy. Well, okay, we are depleting the environment, but at the same time, the process of extraction could be very damaging, because there could be some oil could be, you know, bleeded into the water, or something else may happen, and so on. Or if you take trees because we want to build houses or chair or whatever, there could be some, if we actually make deforestation, there could be erosion of soils and other things linked to this. So these are the two key points. Of course, when related to the output, to the effect that we have into the extraction, we will see this more related to the output, okay, of the system, which is this. We already introduced those the other time. We will not go into any deeper discussion about this. I just want to remember that the key are the global warming, the ozone layer depression, the eutrophication, the acidification, the smog. It could be winter smog and summer smog, toxicity, waste, and maybe even other. Okay, and now I'm going to speak about life cycle assessment, which is a method to assess the environmental impact of a product. Can we associate those big issues, you know, those big problems like global warming or acidification of rain, or eutrophication or toxicity or other, to a given product that it's there, or the one that we are going to design, like this pair of glasses? How can I give, this provoke that much of global warming? Is this possible? And how we can do that? The answer is, of course, the answer is yes. I told you the other time, it was in the 90s when This methodology became available through several tough study that has been made by researchers from other fields, not designer, of course. And there are two key approaches. One is to consider the product life cycle. We will see something about this, and the functional unit. And we will see something about this as well. And the method is called, in fact, to evaluate this in relation to these two criteria, is called life cycle assessment. So life cycle assessment, which is internationally recognized, and it has a series of ISO standard, which are 1440, X6, there are several. It is a quantitative method, so it assesses in a quantitative way the impact of a product over its life cycle in relation to the functional unit. Again, we are going to say something about this. But, like to say, whether here I put a coffee machine, what led us to do? Let us to understand different problems related to resource depletion, to human health damages, and to ecological damages. And there you can see some effects that we have been talking so far.